Here we're going to look at solving something where we have a squared, we have a single number. So we can just take the square root of both sides. But if you remember, there's something called the square root property, reminds us that if I'm going to take the square root of both sides of this in order to get rid of the squared, there's something important I have to remember, and that is to put the plus or minus. So why is that the case? Where does this plus or minus come from? Well, if I think of like a simpler example, one where I just sort of maybe know the answer because it works out nicely. Let's say x squared equals 9. When I look at that, I go, oh, I can put 3 in there. 3 squared equals 9. Is that the only option though? Because notice when you square a number, it wouldn't matter if that number was positive or negative, because the negative would cancel anyway when you do negative 3 times negative 3. So when you're going backwards, when you're getting rid of a squared, this is what square root property is reminding us, is that there's always 2 options because a negative would cancel anyways. So back over to this one, whenever I put the square root of both sides, I have to put plus or minus. The square root and the squared cancel, so it just says x equals plus or minus square root of 54. But then a square root of 54 reduced all the way. So trying to think of numbers that go into 54 that I can take the square root of, probably 9. So 9 and 6 gives me 54. So that's only useful because I can take the square root of 9, right? There's other factors of 54. We don't care unless it's a perfect square. So x equals plus or minus 3 square root of 6. And remember that technically means we have 2 different answers. 3 square root of 6 could be a solution to the original equation, and negative 3 square root of 6 could also be a solution to the other equation. Plus or minus is just a shorthand way to write that it's 2 different options.